Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 38 in which we are going to talk about VSTACK and HSTACK. These two formulas are very interesting and very important if you are involved in data consolidations and data combining. So without much ado, let's go ahead and check out how to use this formula in the Excel. Data combining is a huge process for certain people. Example, so let's say I am maintaining individual workbook for each month or individual worksheet for each month. Now I have to collate all these individual report into one single report in such a way one below the other. Now, if I am a common Excel user, if I am not a super user or advanced level user, probably one of the common way I would do is copy and paste one below the other. So let's say if I'm an advanced level user, if I have the knowledge of Power Query, if you are following my Power Query video series, then there is a process called appending query through which you can achieve this. Now, let's say you don't fall into the advanced level user, you don't want to get into Power Query, but if you want to know, do I have a choice in Excel to do such kind of task instead of me copying and pasting it manually? Now that is where the VSTACK and HSTACK comes into play. If you are a 365 Excel user, then yes, you have access to this formula, and let us see how do we make use of this formula and get that task done in a very simplest way, and moreover in more dynamic way as well. So let's check out in the Excel with the exercise file. Let's go ahead. All right, so this is the Excel file I'm going to use for this video. So let us first understand the requirement and let us see how VSTACK and HSTACK is going to help us to get our job done. So the first three sheets which I have in my file contains individual regional data. Sheet 1 contains central region data, sheet 2 contains the east region data, sheet 3 west region data. The last in the fourth sheet, what I really want to have is all those three data. I want to have it combined in such a way that one below the other. So that is what I want to achieve it. Now I don't want to manually copy and paste it because the data will keep changing. There might be extra data coming in to place and the existing data numbers can get changed. I'm taking the extreme case into the consideration in order to understand why VSTACK is the better choice for these kind of requirements. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the job done. So we're going to see how to write the VSTACK to get the job completed. So equal to VSTACK, and it is going to ask me array 1, which is nothing but the first data set which I want to combine. So I'm going to select the first data set, comma, array 2 is my second data set. So I'm going to the next table and I'm selecting it, comma, sheet 3, the third region data, just selecting it. And then once I completed selecting all the three region data, I'm going to close the braces and hit enter, and that's going to give me the data which is perfectly collated in one single table. Now the thought might come to you is I would have done the same thing by copying and pasting it, but remember that if I go and change any of the value from 45,000 to 50,000, I'm changing it. Now if you see in the report, it got updated. But what happens if I add extra data? Will it be included? So let's say I'm going to put test Q1 10,000. Whether this is getting picked up, the answer is no. If you want that to get picked up, so what you got to do is you need to convert the input areas into table, and that will handle that part. So watch closely. I'm going to go back and remove this formula. I'm going to convert them into table, and then I'm going to write the VSTACK again. So I'm going to select, convert them into table by pressing Ctrl T, T as in table. My table as header, yes, I want to click OK. So that's my table 1, and I want to select this, Ctrl T. This is my table 2. Then select this one, Ctrl T, table 3. So I have converted them into individual tables. I'm checking the table names. They are table 1, table 2. So where am I checking it? I'm checking it in the design tab. Table design tab. Here it shows me what's my table name. So I'm going to the sheet 3 and I'm just clicking inside and checking it's table 3. So if you want, you can rename the table, but I'm going to leave it as it is because our objective is to find out whether the VSTACK is handling that dynamic changes in my table. So let's go to the VSTACK right now. So I'm going to go ahead and write VSTACK. Now, because I've converted that into a table, should I need to go to the table? Absolutely not required. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up table 1, comma, table 2, comma, table 3. So even if I have 10 tables, this is the same thing I have to do. So once I hit enter, job done. But let me go ahead and add that extra data. So I'm adding the additional data to check whether it takes that input. Okay, so Hariran monitor sales in the Q1 is 10,000. So let's go ahead and check in the VSTACK. Yes, absolutely. Watch it. So it has taken that changes whatever I include in my source area. So that is what VSTACK can do for you. All right, so let's try to understand how to use the HSTACK now. Now, if you see here, I got one sheet which contains the details about the employee, like the name and the department, but I do not have the performance related information about the employee here. But I do have that performance related information in another table. Now I want to put these two tables into one single table like this in a separate sheet. So one advantage what I get here is the order in which the employee IDs are kept is exactly the same. So I don't want to sit and write a VLOOKUP or a index and match or XLOOKUP to complicate this process. Because the arrangement is same, I can do a simple copy paste. But I know this data is going to be dynamic. The columns might be added later on either of the table. The rows will get added later in either of the table. But I want to make sure these are included automatically. Okay, so let's go ahead and convert these guys into tables first. So I'm going to go ahead and select the first table and I'm pressing Ctrl T, and that's my table 6 because I've already did a couple of workings on this file, so it's not giving that table name in the sequence like the earlier tables were table 1, table 2, table 3. So what you might be thinking, it should be table 4 because I already did a couple of workings. It remembers the last table numbering. So I can rename this table if I want it, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's go to the next sheet. Select the data, convert that into a table, and this is going to be my table 7. So table 6 and table 7 is what I want to combine them into a single table, but I want to combine them in a horizontal fashion. So I want to stack them in a horizontal way. So what I want to do is go ahead and start writing HSTACK table 6 comma table 7. So now when I do this, I get the stacking done perfectly in the way I would expect. But the problem here is this is my table 6 content and this is my table 7 content. The problem which you can see very abruptly here is the employee ID got repeated, but this is not the problem we faced when it was a vertical stacking. In vertical stacking, the advantage what you got was the headers were in the same pattern, same arrangement. So we were just putting one below the other. So data was pulled in one below the other. But when you do head stacking, there are chances that the same column might be repeated in certain tables. If you do not want those columns to be repeated, then you can handle this in two different ways. But I'll show you both the ways. You decide which one you would go for it. Okay. So the smartest way I would suggest in this case is use the formula unique. And then I go to the end of the formula, comma, and I want to say, make sure you keep the unique columns only. So when I close the braces and hit enter, now you could see that it perfectly took care of the duplication removing. So let me show you what's the formula, what is the change I've done in my formula. in the HSTACK formula, I've just put unique over and above, and then the second parameter of the unique formula, I said please make sure you return the unique columns only, because I'm trying to remove the duplications across the columns, not across the rows here. Yeah, but you could use the same thing even while you do the VSTACking, in case if you want to remove the duplicates or on the collated data. Yeah, so this is the most optimum way to handle it, but in case if you want to handle this in a different way, then you have to do it in this fashion. So watch this. I want to say HSTACK table. The first table I don't do any changes, but in the second table I can say, hey, table 7. Okay, instead of me typing, I'm going to literally go to the table 7, and I'm going to select only those columns I would need in table 7 and close the braces. So if you see this time, the formula looks something different. Table 6, when I say the entire content of the table 6 is going to be picked up. But for the table 7, I'm saying these from the rating column till the bonus column. So that means from the rating column till the bonus columns, whatever columns are there in between these two columns, including these two columns, is going to be pulled up for you and it's going to be given. But the issue when you go by this approach is, if you add a new column in table 7, will it be picked up? That's the question. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I add a new row and new column. So here I want to say E. So let's go ahead, E006 Hariharan training. So let's go to the next sheet, and I want to say E006 4.5, and the project C is handling around 12 projects, and the bonus amount is $5,000. Well, let's say take $7,000, whatever. Okay, and then I want to give you more informations here that let's say overtime allowance. So I want to include one new column here. So where I want to say 120, 150, 100, 80, 50, 60. So in table 6, there is a new row included. In table 7, a new row as well as a new column. So let's go ahead and find out what happens here. Now, the new row included is taken into consideration, which is in table 6. Now, new column, which I've included in the table 7, is never considered. And this is the problem when you go by the approach like selecting the columns manually. But will it be handled if I would have gone by the entire table? So let's go ahead and check that quickly. So I want to do Control Z to take care of that actions. Okay, so this is it. So let's go ahead and instead of selecting the columns, I'm going to say, why don't you give me the entire table, and I'm going to use unique, and I want to keep only the unique columns, and perfect. So let's go ahead and do that same inclusion like last time. All right, so here we go. So E006 run training. Okay, I'm trying to include a new column here, so just for the understanding. So 10, 20, 30, 10, 10, 10. Let's go to table 7 and let's try to do E006, and his rating is 4.5, 11 projects, $7,000, and OT is gonna be 120, 100, 120, 100, 100, 100. So let's go ahead and check out what's gonna happen this time. So if you see here, table 6 inclusions has been added. Table 7 inclusions are also added. The only thing which I have to be taking care is here. Yeah, so this is something which I have to manage. I have to make sure I got the headers in the proper way. So Let's give a try for the headers as well. So let's say head stack, and I want to say table 6 headers. Okay, then table 7 headers. So let's access the headers. So I'm using the square bracket to access the components of the table. And so let's clear this out so that the spelling happens. Now, what is the other thing I have to do in order to make sure that I don't, to avoid the duplications, I'm going to use the unique formula. Go to the end of it. I want to make sure return the unique columns. All right, here we go. So the first 4 columns and the next 4 columns, perfectly we got it. The coloring part, absolutely you can use the format painter. Done. So we have come to the end of this video. In this video, I've shown you how do you use VSTACK and HSTACK when you have a requirement of data collations, whether you want to do it vertically between the tables or horizontally across the tables. So however you want to do it, you can do it. And I've shown you how do you handle the dynamicity inside the tables when a new row or a new column, and how do you remove the duplications in case if you don't want to have the duplication while you do the horizontal stacking. All we have seen it, and we do have very interesting input in the next video. Don't miss it. It is related to the stacking. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.